Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Dorothy Neddermeyer with me here today. Dorothy, a fellow PhD, is an executive consultant at Genesis Consultants and a successful influencer in the public and private sectors as a consultant, coach, and keynote speaker. She has 30 plus years of global experience in leadership development, behavioral change, and enhancing human potential. Dr. Dorothy is passionate about developing great leaders. She works with senior and emerging executives to amplify their leadership skills and drive viable, sustainable organizations with relevant, adaptable, centered, and authentic skills. Thank you. Welcome to the show, Dorothy.
Thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity to let Phoenix know that I'm here.
Excellent. You've actually been here longer than me, but we've both been here over a decade. So you wear a couple of hats. Can you give us a quick snapshot of your businesses right now?
Well, you gave a good snapshot of the corporate side of the work that I do, but I also do individual work for people who are struggling with their own issues of anxiety or panic attacks or everything from A to Z, abdominal pain to zits and everything in between, because all of our physical and emotional issues are created by what we tell ourselves.
And what we put in our bodies and how we treat it.
And what we put in our bodies. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So get junk out.
Yep. For sure. Yep. Mentally and physically. That's right.
Yes. So I do wear two hats. I switch hats. That's what I do.
Okay. You mentioned anxiety. I mean, that's been clearly on the rise for the past several years. Is that something that's taking up more of your time?
Yes, quite a bit. Anxiety got triggered, of course, with the pandemic that wasn't a pandemic, but yes, people have anxiety about a lot of things. The other thing that people do a lot is worry.
Sure.
People will ask me, are you worried? And I'll think, about what? There's nothing to be worried about, because everything that you're faced with has a solution. If that makes sense. It's
sure.
There's a solution. You just don't know what it is right at the moment.
Sure. That's fear. Are you familiar with Jonathan Haidt's new book, The Anxious Generation?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but I saw it recently came out. I'm a big fan of his. He has some really good books. Do you have any thoughts on that to expand?
Well, I think what he does is it brings it down to earth.
Okay.
I tend to get up too high and people can't. I mean, I know I guess you could say all the inner workings, and he brings it down to a more basic thought.
Okay.
It makes it easier for people to understand. So
okay.
I need to think in terms of making it more simple.
Okay. Tangible, actionable for people. Right.
Yeah. We also have a list of words that people use all the time that I call them self-sabotage.
Okay.
Things like never and always and you have to and why don't you and why didn't you and all those kinds of words that we think have a lot of value to them, but they're really widening the gap between two people versus or widening the gap between yourself and what you want to accomplish.
Sure. I imagine a lot of these types of things stem from having the wrong mindset, which also reminds me of another book I read by Carol Dweck. I think it's a great book. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh, Carol who?
Carol Dweck, Dweck.
No, I haven't read that one.
Okay. It's just, a lot of the differences and detriments of a fixed mindset compared to a growth mindset.
Sure.
Such as taking on challenges, worry, things, anxiety, all that.
I know that gig. Yes.
Yep. Using the wrong words, framing things incorrectly. Yep.
So there are words that you can use instead of why don't you,
Sure.
You can just ask somebody what prompted you to think that or what prompted you to do that
Right. Right.
versus why did you do that?
Okay. So you have the therapy hat on a lot with clients.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I think we all need to have a therapy hat on.
Well, yeah, that's it's a good line I heard not too long ago that IQ will get you hired, but EQ will get you promoted, right? If you want to really be successful in this day and age, you really have to be emotionally intelligent and really be aware of where everyone else is coming from.
Absolutely. Yes. So if you have good emotional skills, your skills that you use, your widget skills, fall into place.
Right. Right.
It's the
Okay.
people skills that we need more of than we give ourselves credit for.
Right. Right. Super important. Very valuable. Particularly in
Absolutely.
this day and age when people are somehow less connected and aware of each other's.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So how do you split your time right now between those two sort of gigs?
Well, my calendar just somehow gets filled up. I just put it in my calendar. Something comes up just like this podcast for tonight. I don't have clients usually in the evenings. Work perfect.
Okay. Nice.
So yes, my calendar just seems to. That's the other thing I find that when your head is clear, things just come together. They
Sure.
just flow. They just work.
Yes. That's paramount. Clarity is paramount. Having your environment and your schedule in order is one of the biggest keys to success,
That's right.
in my experience.
And when I'm working with someone who obviously has usually got a job, uh, we bridge back and forth, helping them in the work environment and then helping them in their personal life because personal and professional overlaps.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. You like you said, the mental and physical health of inside and outside of work and in both of all aspects of your life. For
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. So is there a particular niche or focus that sets you apart from other sort of influencers or coaches, consultants?
Yes, absolutely. I have tools, I call them tools because they have a specific purpose, obviously. And I do hypnotherapy
Okay.
because when you get to the root of the issue, that's what needs to be addressed, not the behavior
Right. The
or
source.
not the anxiety. You can treat the symptom, but it
Right.
still's there. You need to find the cause, the original cause of anxiety, and then process that, let it go, and then reinstall new information, new behavior, new thought patterns.
Right.
So I don't do traditional hypnotherapy. I do what's called transformational therapy.
Nice. Okay. So you sort of you examine the original issue and then reframe it in a more constructive way.
Correct.
Nice.
And it's very quick and easy, and people love it. I
Okay.
work with all kinds of people from MDs to PhDs, executives, and it's very quick and they like it. So it's not something that you have to do 10 years of.
Right. Right.
When you're in therapy, you're in there for at least 10 years.
Right. So
Because,
I've also on that note, I've known a lot of successful people who had baggage they didn't understand, and they had and that sort of process, therapy or diving back into it really helped them get it sorted out, right? And they didn't even know why they did and were acting the way they were until they had to actually sit and really reflect on it.
yes. And then I also do past life regression.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, past life regression is simply just going back in time. You use hypnosis to help your mind to relax because that's all hypnosis is. It's not a thing. It's just
Right.
really quieting your
Deep,
mind and relaxing, and I just guide you into a nice, comfortable level of relaxation, and then give you the instruction to go back to a time when, and it might be to a time when anxiety first entered into the mind.
Okay.
It can take you back anywhere.
Okay.
And then you just move it forward into today's issues and clean it up. That's basically what you do.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
what I do.
Let you get a handle on it.
So you can get a handle on it. And then what takes place is people often forget that when they have something that's niggling at them, they kind of push it away, push it away. No, you need to pay attention to that, because it's going to pop up somewhere else if you don't.
It's not going away.
It's not going to just go away. You need to just, okay, why am I acting this way? Why am I thinking this? What's causing me to feel upset or anxious or angry?
Sure.
And
I've heard.
sadness.
Okay. In a similar vein of that, I've heard a lot of people have had good results and experiences using psychedelics for that sort of therapy, because similar to being in a deep state of relaxation, it allows you to sort of get out of yourself, right? And really dive deep. It was Stephen Cutler's book, The Rise of Superman, talked more about that. There's DARPA is doing a lot. The government's done a lot of stuff on this for many decades, but also, I mean, Silicon Valley executives are doing microdosing because of the benefits for mental clarity and productivity, problem solving. It's really sort of a new wave of mental introspection, which is very exciting.
Well, it's been around for a long time, using psychedelics. It's not just yesterday.
No, cultures have been doing all sorts of whatever their local pharmaceuticals are available in the wild. They've been doing it for thousands, tens of thousands of years, apparently.
Well, the herbalists used to use them way back when, before they had, Western medicine is in its infancy, right?
Sure. But I meant, like, the government has sort of restricted after it was Timothy Leary and some of those 60s era experiments that we sort of, professional science was sort of shut down in regards to exploring it for a few decades, and now it seems to be back on the agenda for a lot of people.
So the first hospital was in 1765. That's when the first school for the medical profession was 1765 in the United States. So it hasn't been around very long. And yet we see it as the end all be all in mental and physical health care. And the United States ranks 37th out of 100 industrialized countries. We rank 37th in our efficiency and effectiveness for physical and emotional health.
Right. Which is pretty sad, for sure.
Yes, which is pretty sad. 36 countries do a better job than we do.
Yep. There's we focus on some interesting things here, don't we?
Yes. Well, if you think about it as a treasure hunt, because it's not going to be given to you. You need to hunt for it. You need to dig deep to find what the real truth is, rather than just whatever you hear on TV. The TV just wants you to believe what they want you to believe, rather than what really is.
Sure. So let's switch gears for a minute and tell me a little bit more about Genesis Consultants.
Well, I named my company Genesis because isn't Genesis the beginning?
Yep.
And so it's the beginning of your new life when you start working on the issues that you need to work on, or you take new tools, get new tools into your toolbox.
Okay. Oh, I thought that was so is that the corporate sort of coaching company, or is
Yeah,
it?
yes. But,
It
well,
is.
that's the
Okay.
name of my company, whether I'm doing individual or whether I'm
Oh,
doing
I see.
corporate.
Okay. Okay. I'm with you.
And that's why I use the word Genesis, is because
Yep.
it's the beginning of your life, if you want to put it that way.
Sure. Or the rebirth, maybe. I don't know. But, well,
And
we're
the
in Phoenix.
rebirth,
That's the
yeah.
Phoenix thing, right?
Yeah, just like,
Reborn from the ashes.
I wanted to use that. I wanted to
Oh,
use
yeah.
Phoenix, and somebody had already taken it, so I couldn't get it. So
All right. Sure.
and it was interesting because the guy that was helping me get the incorporation was the one that came up with Genesis. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. Well, as it turns out, Genesis is an era that I was actually in one of my lifetimes.
Okay.
So it was rather prophetic.
Okay. Excellent.
That's how it came about.
So if somebody listening to this right now wants to get better at identifying their past issues and so forth, what do you suggest they do to get some clarity on their self and why they behave the way they do and so forth? What tips would you give them?
Well, if I'm going to work with them on an ongoing basis, I take a history of their life this time, and we start connecting the dots with what's going on in your life now, and where have you been? What have you been through? What issues did you struggle with? What issues are still unresolved? What things have you done to correct it to begin with, and it just hasn't worked, or it's worked for a little while but doesn't work permanently? And then we just go from there, step by step. And I make suggestions so that people have an opportunity to say, no, that doesn't feel right for me. And I come up with a different way then to help them get where they want to go. And generally, that's how we do it. Sometimes, if they say, no, I don't want to do that, no, I don't want to do that, we tend to go back to what I suggested because I can see all the pieces and they don't necessarily see all the
Right.
pieces.
Right. That's the classic. You can see the mote in someone else's eye, but not the log in your own, right? It's hard
That's
to
right.
get perspective.
That's correct. So it's a matter of taking history and finding out where the pain points are, the main pain points. And then
Okay.
as we go along, some other pain points might pop out and we'll know what they are and we can work on
Right.
them and get them taken care of.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure different people have different degrees of skeletons back in their in their past that they may or
Yes,
may not be avoiding.
right. And
Okay.
sometimes we think that it's just the way it is. Life is just the way it is and I can't do anything about it. I just want to know how to cope better.
Okay. Right.
Coping,
That's an important
uh,
skill for
yes.
sure.
And coping is not living. Coping is coping. You're not living if you're
Right.
coping.
Okay. I see what you mean. Yes.
You got all
Yep.
these good coping skills, but you're not living. You need to be sort of like living it out, living
Right.
from the inside out.
Right. Living with the pain or with the thorn in your side, but not
Well,
necessarily thriving.
right, that's what happens. You still got the thorn in your
Mhm.
eye, and then how do you really do? You just struggle along. That's
Right.
the only way you can do it.
So I imagine helping your clients must be incredibly rewarding, right? And seeing the impact you can have on people's lives.
Absolutely. It is very rewarding, and I've been doing it for over 30 years. So I've got a lot of people under a lot of people.
Yeah, I bet. Are most of your clients now in Phoenix?
Uh, Pretty much. However, I do work worldwide
Okay, so
because
you're able to work. Right.
yes, I use Zoom and I work worldwide. I've worked in people in places like Dubai and um, Japan and India, the Netherlands, Brazil.
People are people all more or less the same though, in when you're
Well,
working with them?
Well, how they got there may be different than
Sure.
how we get there from the United States, but more
Right.
or less it's all the same.
Okay.
Anger is anger, sadness is sadness, feeling anxious is feeling anxious. How you got to that point is maybe different. Everybody's different, even working with people in the United States and also in the different cultures. We've got 5 major culture locations in the United States.
Okay. You can break those out for me? And when you say it, I'm sure I'll agree, but I'm curious as
Well, the Midwest, North
okay.
Midwest and South Midwest, East Coast, up the coast, and then there's Northwest and Southwest. We're Southwest.
Right.
So it's interesting to when you start looking at how they got where they are, just in different cultures.
Sure. Sure. So, I like to ask people also about the sort of what you're excited about, what's coming up in the future. Do you have anything planned in the next 6 to 18 months for your business or anything specific?
Well, yes, doing more of the same. I
Okay.
love it because it is very rewarding to help people. And I'm also writing a book on
Oh,
juxtaposing how our past impacts today.
okay. Can you give us a little teaser, a little bit more
A
about that?
little teaser. Well, we think that when we were spanked, let's put that one out there.
Okay.
That's the one that everybody thinks is okay. Spanking causes more harm than anybody has ever been willing to acknowledge.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you've been beat up. It doesn't mean that you had black and blue marks. I mean, adults don't want to be hit, do they?
Most people do not want to be hit. No,
So why would a child want to be hit?
they do not.
Whether it's slapping the hand or using some implement to spank a child. And
Mhm.
paddling in school is allowed
Is
in
it still?
19 states,
Hmm. Okay.
Arizona being one of them.
Okay.
You
Never
can
heard of it here, but it's allowed
it's
officially.
allowed. Well, yes, legally they can, in those 19 states, legally the school can order the child to be spanked because of whatever infraction.
Can they do it themselves or how do they order it? How does that work?
Well, the teacher reports, or
Okay.
whoever saw the infraction reports it to the principal. The principal gives the child a choice. You can be paddled or you have to stay after school so many days
Huh.
for an hour or whatever it is. And
Oh,
believe me, it is almost a given that if your child has never been spanked in school, you're going to be targeted. Because I was in Oklahoma for a consulting gig of several years ago, and my son was a freshman in high school, and some kid accused him of using the F word, which he has never used before and has never used since. I've never heard it out of his mouth. And he was accused of using the F word, and the principal told him that he could stay after school 3 days or he could have 3 whacks with the wooden paddle.
huh.
And I had already written a letter to the principal saying my children were not to be hit with anything. So he called me up and he said, "Well, Mom, it's only just 3 whacks." Well, he had no clue what that whack was going to be. And I said, "Absolutely not." So I went to the school the next morning and said, "Okay, he's going to choose being after school for three days." And he turned out to be a hero with the kids.
Okay.
Kids came up to him and said, I wish our mom would do what your mom did.
Hmm. Interesting. When was
Interesting.
this?
Pardon?
When was this?
He was a freshman in high school. He
So
said the F word.
yeah,
So
but
supposedly, I don't believe
right.
it for a second.
Okay, but what year? What are we talking?
Oh, let's see. I have to stop and think. Oh, 82.
Okay. Okay. 82. Huh. Okay.
And it's still, well, the state still does it. Oklahoma
Okay.
still has spanking in schools, still allowed. That doesn't mean that all the schools do it, but this was in
Right.
this was in Tulsa,
Right.
major city.
Right. Yep. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's
And
surprising and interesting.
so that's one of the questions I ask people. I ask them, how were you disciplined when your parents needed to correct unacceptable behavior? What did your
Right.
parents do?
Okay.
Because then I know if it's been paddling or hitting or swatting. People use hangers, they use switches off of trees,
Mm-hmm.
they use paddles, they use belts.
Yep. Okay. That's interesting. So that's a big part of juxtaposition. Oh, shoot.
Let me think. Yes, it is. It's very high. I wouldn't know the percent, but I would say it's probably around 80% or higher that kids have been spanked at least once, if not more often.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Okay. So, it would in wrapping up this interview, reflecting on your journey, what do you wish you knew earlier about?
Well, writing the book so that will, writing a book about how our prior experiences impact us today is not really addressed from that angle. And that's why I decided to write that kind of book. What the experiences cause the most harm.
Right. Okay. But in terms of success in your career, what do you wish you would have known sooner?
Well, it's really interesting. It has been a progression from the time I was in high school to today, and it just keeps rolling along. So I don't know if there was anything I would have liked to have known sooner.
Okay. Just you knew it as when you were supposed to. So,
Correct.
okay. Okay. It's a nice philosophy. Dorothy, thank you so much for your time today and sharing some insights and tips with us. If people would like to connect with you, what should they do? How
Well,
can they
they can
find you?
find me. They can find me on the internet with my name. I'm all over the place. I am on social media, or if you want to call me, you can do that. It's 480-794-1561. And my
Okay.
email address is my first name, ned@gmail.com.
Okay. Dorothy NED. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for listening or watching. Thank you very much, Dorothy Neddermeyer, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your story and your insights into success and impact here in Phoenix.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.